Happy Wednesday afternoon, everyone. Today, you are attending a session called How Databricks IQ Boosts Your Productivity. My name is Weston Hutchins. I am a product manager working on Databricks IQ.
And hi, I'm Richard Tomlinson. I'm a product marketing director, and I'm focused on AI BI.
Now, I am sure you all are aware by now, with every sign outside of Moscone, that the theme of this conference is data intelligence. And as Ali talked about in the keynote today, what is data intelligence and how do we apply it in our platform? Really, we took our open, unified foundation with our Databricks Lakehouse architecture, and we added all these AI services and capabilities on top of that. And it's something that we call Data Intelligence Platform. It's a problem where we think Databricks is uniquely positioned to solve for your organization by adding AI onto your enterprise data, democratizing data access for everyone inside your organization. And this is all powered by Databricks IQ. Last year at the keynote, we unveiled Databricks IQ. This is our knowledge engine that sits on top of Unity Catalog and understands the semantics of your business. It's a collection of AI services. So the way to think about this is it's models, vector databases, knowledge graphs, embeddings. We use all of this information and we use signals from the data stored in Unity Catalog. So things like table and column metadata, lineage dependencies for upstream and downstream tables, dashboards, queries, popular queries, and favorites across your organization in order to provide relevant, accurate results out of these LLM models. And we use this to power many different experiences across the product. So even at the bottom of the stack, we can analyze usage patterns and alter your data layout to optimize it based on how your users are accessing it in your organization. We can do things like diagnose jobs and help you find errors faster. We can generate accurate text to SQL. You can create some visualizations that we showcased in the keynote today. Really, all of this is early days here. And that's one of the things I want to leave with is, for the last year, we've been spending most of our time building up our infrastructure, getting all of our eval systems set up. We're really at the point where we can take off and do some pretty magical things inside Databricks, leveraging Databricks IQ. And for this talk, I'm gonna kick us off. I'm gonna talk a lot about data teams. We'll talk about our assistant, our AI-generated metadata, search, and then I'll hand it over to Richard, who's gonna talk about how Databricks IQ can work for your business teams. So things like our dashboards and Genie. But before I get into a demo, I actually want to talk a little bit under the covers of what the Databricks IQ team is working on. Like, what exactly are we building here? So these are some of the ingredients that the team is focused. First off, as we all know, LLMs really need good retrieval in order to provide accurate results. And if I were to say one thing, search is the foundation of the Databricks IQ team. If we cannot find relevant tables, there is no way to generate accurate queries. So a large portion of the team is focused on solving this retrieval problem, where we've added a number of new features. We've improved the quality of search significantly. We've added semantic search, where you can use natural language to find tables. We have vector databases to do fuzzy matching. We have recents and popularity. All of these signals we actually use in our assistant to provide accurate answers. So that's like ingredient number one. The second is when you're actually using the assistant in practice. A lot of context, and I say context is king, it really is. Like when you're in the moment, when you're in a notebook cell, we need to make sure that that information is sent to the LLM as prompts so that we can return the right answers. And we use not just the code that you're writing, we use a bunch of other metadata, and this is part of the signals that we take in for Databricks IQ. We have table and data frame schemas. We have recents and favorites, error matches, stack traces. We even have built a hybrid vector search capability for Databricks documentation. A common problem that we hit when we first launched the assistant was the backing models knew nothing about new releases. They had not had a chance to index them yet. So we solved this by building a Databricks documentation vector database that actually pulled in our docs all the time and fed our LLMs with relevant, up-to-date examples. All this context gets sent into prompts, and these are the instructions that we use, fairly typical of a RAG engineering process. And we actually tie a lot of these to our different models that serve different scenarios in the platform. But speaking of models, like what about the models? Well, we also spend a lot of our time leveraging the tools that we have in Mosaic in order to provide more relevant results. And like, let me give you an example. When we first started working with Databricks Assistant, we were leveraging a lot of vanilla open source models. And take this example where you're asking a question about what is the shorthand in Databricks SQL for grouping by the columns that are not used in an aggregation. Now the answer is like almost right, except that group by star does not work in Databricks. You will get an error. And this is really because these models have been trained on a lot of public open source code, but it might not know the nuance exactly of Databricks specific SQL syntax. So what the team did was we actually took Mosaic, fine-tuned APIs, we took these vanilla open source models, and we trained it with a bunch of Databricks specific documentation and examples. And this improved helpfulness in the product by about 20%. So huge, and you can actually see this gives you the right answer now. Group by all is the right thing that we need to serve the assistant answers to. So my whole point with this is like, we really are putting a lot of time in customizing these models that are serving our assistant that make it more tailored to you. And I would say over the next year, we will see these things get dramatically better and more accurate, personalized for your team. But every good model needs benchmarking. It needs evaluation. And a large proportion of our effort goes towards measuring quality. We are constantly running benchmarks against new models. We are running benchmarks against prompts, tweaking them, understanding, doing a lot of manual data labeling. It's a grunt process. Like, this is just part of what it takes to build accurate AI-generated experiences. If you don't do this, you're really not ever improving that feedback loop, and you're relying on someone else to do that testing for you. Now, we've built some really cool utilities here. Internally, we have LLMs actually help us rank answers, something we call supervised LLM as judge. We also are offering features that maybe you'll start to see roll out pretty shortly, which is like side-by-side answers where you help us choose the best one. These are often testing different prompts and different models, and we use that data to improve the assistant over time. And we're even looking at things like human-in-the-loop curation, where you can say, no, this isn't the right answer. I want this to always return this table or this particular fix for this error message and save this for everyone in my organization. Lastly, one of the things that was a bit surprising to me is that there's always trade-offs in these assistant experiences, especially when it comes to things like quality versus responsiveness. I always ask, like, in an ideal where we can have both, but often that's not the case. We will have LLMs can take a long time to return, especially if you're doing things like chain of thought, where you're chaining them together. Latency is extremely important. So what we've done is we've actually tailored the latency experiences and the accuracy depending on the scenario. So for something like diagnose error, accuracy is key. We have to have high quality answers. But for our newly announced assistant autocomplete, latency is key. Results have to return in about a second, otherwise the feature isn't really useful. And so like putting it all together, this is just sort of the tip of the iceberg of what the Databricks IQ engineering team is focused on. We have many, many more projects in the pipeline. But I wanted to give folks an overview of just exactly what's under the covers of Databricks IQ. And with that, I'm going to jump over to a demo, and we're going to show off some of the capabilities here. Oh, let's go here. All right. So I'm in Databricks. This is our new homepage. It's a nice light experience. And for this demo in particular, I'm going to be using a pretty simple table. Let's go ahead and take a look. It's just a movies table. And this is IMDb top 1,000 movies. The first thing that I want to call out is everything that is powering Databricks IQ relies on metadata that we have in Unity Catalog. So comments and table descriptions are really key to the end-to-end experience. One of the cool things is in order to encourage folks to label things more appropriately, we have AI-generated comments. And so I can hit AI-generated comments. It uses a fine-tuned model to serve more accurate suggestions based on things like IMDb rating. It picks that up correctly, certificate, and I've even used it over here to pick my table description. Now, what's really cool about this is that once these table comments are in there, they're indexed by our search system. And you can pick it up and now use this to do natural language keyword search in the product. So if I start to ask, where can I find information about movies, This will take us into our new full-page search results. We'll jump over to tables. And I want to point out a few things. Like one, I was able to ask a natural language question here, and it gave me back a result. But two, we don't just do keyword matching. We're filtering out things like information. We're even returning things like video games that are not movies. It's nowhere in the actual description, but it's using relevancy and vector similarity in order to pull up things that are related to movies. And this is just all part of this power of using fuzzy matching to pull up more relevant results. But I want to explore this data a little bit more further. So I'm going to open it up in our notebook, and we'll open up this new assistant here. Our assistant is, this is a new version of our assistant that actually spans every product page inside Databricks. So we've taken it out of the notebook and make it so that you can use this to eventually do things like diagnose jobs or ask questions about your data. But one of the cool things is, the example that I just gave about movies, you can do that directly in context in your notebook session. So if I say, where can I find tables with movies, this will call the same backend semantic search API, and I can use this to go and find it right without ever leaving my notebook. And so if I select this, it will prime the assistant. It will even give me some sample queries to go ahead and run. I'll stop this and pick a few. But what's really neat about our assistant platform is that this whole assistant over here is actually itself a notebook. So I can go and execute code that it's returned to me, and the results show up directly in here. This is actually extremely helpful and useful when you're iterating over prompts and trying to get the right code output. So like things for regular expressions, you can iterate in this assistant window, get your code perfect, and then copy it into your notebook. Now, let's go ahead and show how you don't actually even need to use the side panel anymore. We've integrated our assistant directly in line. And so I can say things like, select the first 10 rows of my movie table. And the assistant will generate text to SQL and allow a quick iteration pattern where you can use this without even having to open the side panel window. Now, that was a pretty simple example, but you can start to ask it more questions. So like, what are the genres with the most movies? And we'll cross our fingers. We'll see if the assistant gives us the right answer. Go and run that. Great, and we can see for the top 1,000 IMDb movies, drama seems to be a very popular category. Now, one thing I also wanted to show with this sort of demo here is, watch what happens when I kind of trip it up a little bit. I'll say things like, let's see, find the top 10 longest movies. And it uses the correct columns. It uses series title and runtime. But one of the things that it doesn't quite get right is runtime is actually a string. It's not an integer, so it doesn't know how to sort that properly. And the reason for this is the assistant doesn't actually have access to the row-level data itself. So you need to provide examples in order to get this right. But this is really where this can shine. And so you can say things like, find the top 10 longest movies. Runtime is a column that is a string. Looks like minutes. Cast to an int. And if it gives me the right thing, go ahead and try and run this. And you can actually see that it does all of the casting and annoying date manipulations that often happen in SQL. And I can see that there is a very long movie out there. And so it gave me the right answer. And this is a really nice iterative approach to working with SQL inside of your text editor. And this works not only for SQL, but for Python as well. And the other thing that I wanted to call out is a new feature that we announced, I think it was like 3 weeks ago, but it is autocomplete as you type. And so I can actually come in here and say, write a query that shows movies in the drama genre rated greater than 8.0. And then if I pause there for a second, it will actually start to go and autocomplete as I type And let's see if this will actually run correctly. Maybe it did not quite get that right. Oh, it cast the runtime. Well, it doesn't get it right all the time, but one of the things, let's go try this again and see if I can get it working quite correctly. And then boom, we actually now have the correct answer where it generated drama, it cast our rating into a double, and will only show us movies that are rated greater than 8.0. What's really neat about this is leveraging Databricks hosted, fine-tuned open source coding models that we've trained. We serve them in really low latency next to our users. Just allows a really nice iteration for typing your code. This is one of the newest features that's been growing like crazy, getting a lot of good feedback about it. And then just to wrap up, we've done more than just integrate this into writing code. You can actually start to use the AI assistant to just help you clean up things and document it. So if I click this little button here, it will actually show me how, it will actually start to label all of my cells, and I can come up here and see that it's now part of my table of contents, so I can use this to sort of to organize it. Let's see if I go up here and ask it to rename my notebook. It will give me a nice summary and a name around that. And I can even come in here and ask it to clean up my code by using these helpful slash commands like document. And it will go and add comments and doc strings and adornments to it so that I just clean up my notebook and get it ready for publishing. All right, that is my demo. Before I hand it over to Richard, I want to have a few announcements related to this. One is we have a new offering that's going to be launching to private preview pretty soon. This is Assistant using Databricks hosted models. One of the features we've heard is that some customers want to use the model endpoint that's hosted within their subscription. We have fine-tuned a state-of-the-art open source model using Databricks foundational APIs, and this eliminates all things like cross-cloud traffic. And so we're really excited about this. We do think this will be a good option for customers who want to just keep the assistant in their own Databricks subscription. So please let me know if you are interested in that. We also have the public preview for Databricks Assistant usage reporting coming out soon. This will allow you to see how the assistant is being leveraged across your organization. You can see how many accepted suggestions there were. You can see who is using it. Generally, this will be a very helpful tool for understanding how your users are interacting with the Databricks Assistant. And then we have many, many new UI features coming out in the next weeks and months. Things like automatically fixing errors as you type, more inline experiences, query optimization and trying to fix common query mistakes that we see from our users, diagnosing job failures, and other types of cross-product integrations like our Catalog Explorer. So with that, I will hand it over to Richard, who is going to walk through how Databricks IQ helps business teams be more productive.
Thank you. Wes said that his superpower was finishing on time, and I believe you. Well done. That's amazing. So hey, everyone, I'm Richard, and I'm going to talk about the business side of this. So Wes was really talking about how LLMs and Databricks IQ more generally can kind of boost productivity for you guys who are all like writing code and you're in notebooks writing SQL and so on. But Databricks' mission as a company is to democratize data and AI for everyone. So that means going beyond data practitioners and actually reaching out to people who just don't know how to code, don't know anything about data and AI, and just helping them be productive as well. So for those of you paying attention in the keynote earlier today, we did announce Databricks AI BI, which is our business intelligence offering, and we really have kind of redesigned, or we're reimagining BI from the ground up, making it really like an AI-first business intelligence experience. Think of it as two sides of the coin. So we have a dashboarding experience. So again, using LLMs to write SQL statements for the dashboards, and then LLMs to actually power the text to viz, to actually build the data visualizations. Again, this is more for BI developers to build dashboards and reports for their business teams. But for every dashboard and every answer in every dashboard, a business user will have 1,000 more questions. Why is that red light red on my dashboard? Why is that little bar below where it should be? So Genie is the solution for those for those types of personas to go in and just ask all of those follow-on questions ad hoc in a very self-service way, using the language that they know, the language of their business, not SQL or Python, to get insights and get results. So what makes it special? Genie is powered by Databricks IQ, and we think of it as a compound AI system. I'm not going to explain what compound AI systems are and agentic workflows are. There's a ton of talks at this summit about that. But essentially, we don't just use one LLM to power Genie. It's an ensemble of different LLMs that are highly specialized, that all have different roles. So one LLM might be an expert at planning the query. Another LLM is an expert at translating text to SQL. Another LLM is all about picking the right data visualization. And together, these agents work together to really come up with the best result. We combine that with all of this metadata and signals that we capture through Databricks IQ from Unity Catalog, table schemas, PK-FK relationships, table comments, previous queries, other dashboards. All of that kind of system data is then thrown into the mix as well. And what that does, it just gives the LLMs an amazing amount of context about your unique data and your unique business semantics to make it much more relevant and accurate when it gives answers back. And then lastly, we've taught the Genie to not hallucinate. If it doesn't know how to answer a question, if it doesn't understand customer churn, for example, it's not going to hallucinate and just blurt out an answer. It's going to say, I don't understand. Can you clarify that for me? As a business user, you can then type in what churn means, and the AI will actually learn that and then remember that so that other people using the system, using Genie later on, can benefit from that learning. So think of this as a system that just the more you use it, the smarter and the better it gets. Okay, so demo time. Where is my mouse? Okay, I've got a little cheat sheet here because I'm getting old and I tend to forget things. Okay, so in this scenario, we are working for Frontier Sports. This is like, think of them like North Face. They sell mountaineering gear, mountain bikes, accessories. And we're going to build a dashboard for our business team. And then we're going to also build a Genie space for the business team to then go on and ask all of those follow-on questions. So the first thing I'm going to do here is actually search for Frontier data. And you can see here that we have lots of things in the system. We have tables, notebooks, queries, dashboards, folders, even content in Databricks Marketplace that kind of are relevant to my search term. I actually want to start here with this, this BI dashboard. So this is my dashboard that I'd kind of started building before this presentation and left a big blank space there because I want to build that out in front of you guys. But for those of you familiar with BI tools, this is no surprise. You can just build out all of these beautiful visualizations here to help people understand the data. So what I want to do is my business team has asked me to do some analysis on our platinum customer segment. So what I want to do is build a nice visualization to show how much revenue that particular customer segment is generating for Frontier Sports. So I'm going to click into the draft mode here. And before I can put this visual on the canvas, I'm going to go into the data page and actually create a new query to power that visualization. And I'm going to use the assistant to do that. So I'm going to say, show me customers that generated over $5 million in total sales in 2024. So again, I guess as this persona, I do know SQL, so I could have typed that in, but it's just way more easier and more productive when AI can help me. So you can see here that it's brought back a nice SQL statement with a nice having clause here that is the correct way of defining my platinum customer segment. So that's great. So I'm gonna actually rename this and call this Platinum Customers 2024. So now I didn't spell that very well, but I don't really care. So now I'm going to go and use that query and build a visualization on top of that query that I just pulled in. So I'm going to drag a new visual onto my palette, and then also use natural language to build that visual. So I'm going to say I want a bar chart of where is it here? Hang on a second, I thought I'd saved it. It's that one, okay. Not quite sure where that went. Hang on, let me just flip it over here and see if it's got it in here. Well, not quite sure where that one went. This is the only time that's failed. Anyway, move on. What this was going to do is actually, hang on a second. Let me just see if I can fix this because it's important for the next part of the demo. Okay, so that is in here as, let me just run this. Maybe that's why it didn't work because I didn't run it. Okay. Huh. No idea what's going on there. Anyway, all right. In the interest of time, I'm going to publish this. And now once I've published this, and this should have a beautiful bar chart here. I'm not quite sure what happened there, but I'm sure if I did this like immediately after this presentation, it would work perfectly. So now I'm kind of a business user, and I am in my dashboard here, and I might want to go and ask like a bunch more questions about this data set that's just not answered in this dashboard. So what I'm going to do is actually launch Genie. Okay? So now I've got this space that I can go into and just ask ad hoc questions about my data. And this space is bootstrapped with all of those visuals, all of that information from that dashboard. So it knows all of those queries that were written. So it has a lot of context already, as well as all of that metadata from Unity Catalog and from Databricks IQ, like column and table names and relationships. So it has a lot of awareness. So I can just start asking questions like, show me customers by total revenue in 2024. So we've got an answer back there, and I can say which products did they purchase? Oh, and it did not know to provide more. Not quite sure what's going on. Anyway, I think the idea was to pull in that platinum customer query so it knew what my platinum customers were, and then I was going to ask questions about that. But anyway, on to the next part of the demo. What I want to do is ask a question where it has absolutely no context of what it means from the data. So if I ask something like, which customers have churned? It's being very honest there. Like, there isn't any concept of what churn means in the context of my business that's been given to Genie. So rather than hallucinating an answer, it's just going to say, I don't really know. Now, as a business user, I'm an expert in what customer churn means, so I'm just going to go ahead and tell it. So I'm actually going to do a quick cut and paste here rather than try and type live in front of you guys. But here's the business rule. So churn customers are all the customers that generated sales 2 months ago, but not in the following month. So when I input that, now the AI is going to take that rule and it's actually going to use it. And now I have a list of, these are all of the customers that purchased 2 months ago, but didn't make any purchases in the following month. And maybe business users wouldn't do this part, but here, as somebody who's maybe setting this Genie up for my business users, I could just validate, yeah, this looks like good SQL here. So it looks like Genie has gotten that right from the business rule I gave it. So I'm going to give this a quick thumbs up, and I'm also going to save it as an instruction. So what that means is now customer churn is something that this Genie knows about. So other people can ask questions about churn, and it will apply that logic for those follow-on questions. So for example, I might want to say, how much revenue did these customers generate before they churned? So for that list of churned customers, I can now write a quick query for it to apply that logic and actually bring back some actual revenue information just to tell me, it's a real big deal if you start losing customers because you're leaving all of this revenue on the table. Okay, so that's kind of what you saw in the keynote demo today. You can ask all of these questions that your data teams have not predicted in the dashboards. You can allow business users to self-serve and ask all these follow-on questions. You can also, the business users themselves can teach the AI new semantics, new rules about the data without that business user having to go back to the data team and saying, please can you update the semantic model to we know what customer churn is. This is all kind of very self-service, and as you use the system, it gets smarter. Now, what's going on a little bit behind the scenes here, if I click in instructions, these are all of the instructions that this particular Genie has that make it more aware of my business and my data. And you can see here that all of these instructions are just example SQL statements that have come in from the dashboard that I built earlier when I launched this Genie space. And you'll also see this customer churn one as well. This is added now as a new instruction, and it knows that when anybody asks something similar to this question to apply this type of SQL logic to it. Now, a couple of other things that we didn't show you today in the keynote demos, the concept of certified answers. One of the things that we are doing is adding support for, we really want business users to have certain questions where they absolutely have to have 100% accurate results, come back as a certified answer. So to create a certified answer, a data practitioner can create a SQL function and save that into Unity catalog. And now I can actually wire this up to my Genie space here. So it will, I'll be able to get really accurate certified information about my top line KPI. So I'm going to save that. And what I'm also going to do is I'm going to add a new ad hoc instruction here about my financial years. So where is it? Yeah, it's this one right down here. So I'm going to type in here, look, our financial years run from February 1st through to the end of January of the following year. So FY23 is the start of February through to the end of January the following year. So this is like very specific domain knowledge that's only my company has. Like everybody has different financial periods. This actually happens to be, Databricks' financial year as well. So I'm going to save that, and now I have new instructions that the AI knows about. So when I go in and ask questions, it can bring that back. So if I say, show me top line KPIs for 2024, because I've said top line KPIs, it knows to use this certified answer. So you can see that this particular answer has the certified. So now as a business user, I know, right, this is definitely a blessed answer that's been curated for me by IT, and I know I can depend on this. Financial statements, like what did our quarter close look like, might be a good kind of use case for certified answers. And then to finish this off, we could also say something like show revenue by model for FY23. Hopefully it knows what that word means. I know that it means revenue. Yes, it did. And you can see here that if I actually look at the SQL, it's applied the correct kind of where clause there that corresponds to our financial years. So that's kind of just a quick demo, but the idea here is that this space will be bootstrapped with all of this information that it knows about from the activity occurring inside Databricks, inside the platform, but also that information can be added to by the business user in the moment as they're using the system, or other data practitioners can come in and create new instructions to make Genie more and more accurate over time. Okay, so just in terms of wrap up, if you're wondering how much all of this costs and how much you need to pay, fear not, it's all free. So as long as you are a DB SQL customer, you can use Dashboards and Genie. There isn't any additional licenses that you need. And for those of you with notebooks, using notebooks and SQL Editor, you can take advantage of Databricks Assistant without, there's no additional licensing or anything like that. So we just want you guys to be more productive, because if that's good for you, that's good for us. So if you want to learn more about Databricks IQ, please visit our webpage, /product/Databricks IQ. We've got a bunch of blogs out there as well about how we, when we improve some of the back-end LLMs, we'll write some blogs about that. There's a ton of information. And then if you want to test it out, just make sure that your admins have enabled partner-powered AI-assisted features on your account. It's actually enabled by default, so if it's not on, they've turned it off for whatever reason, go tell them to turn it back on. And for Genie, you can toggle that on in the workspace settings as well, because it's a public preview feature. You can use it, but you do have to toggle that one on. And that's all we had for you. Thank you.